Well, the music might suggest from our introduction that things are really always nice and swell and relaxed, but that's the last thing I am tonight. And I caught wind of the news during, actually, I was ending with a meeting today, folks, at work. And the last 5 minutes of the meeting, somebody mentioned something about the Capitol building. So I immediately went to CNN and, well, since I think it was around 2:39 this afternoon, I've had a headache and I'm quite upset. And as I've said, I've been in one coup in 1991, and I told everybody that, it feels the same way here, and so it finally happens, and we don't even know if we're done yet. We never go on Wednesday nights. Anybody can tell you that. And if we're on a Wednesday night, something must matter. I know everybody's upset out there on Divided We Stand, and this is a time when we have to, stick together, commiserate, and believe in each other, because this is so serious. You wake up in the morning and you don't think things like this can happen, and your whole world changes in a minute. You're like a death or something like that, because this can be the death of democracy. In any case, two of my very good friends and special guests are on tonight, and that would be Mr. George Linden, Sergeant George Linden, and the guy who has nothing better to do on Wednesday nights and other nights too, David Price. So, in all seriousness, Dave and George, welcome. This is one hell of a ride, isn't it?
Didn't think it was gonna get this bad.
No, we didn't, did we, George? We've always kind of been
I
worried,
kept being an optimist.
right? Dave has
Yeah, I
mildly
was
been
being
an. He's warned us about. Dave said, I'm worried about after the election. We're going to see some things, but I was assured by Dave that by tonight, Biden, that would be certified. Although it still may happen.
No,
They're doing it
Brian,
now.
Brian, may I interrupt? It not may happen. It will happen. It'll be a little bit later. It will happen by tomorrow morning. The election of Joe Biden, which is a certainty at 8:25 tonight, despite the uncertainty around the Capitol, will be a certainty for those who are saying, I need it to be certified to be a certainty. That is a guarantee I will give everyone out there tonight, that the Congress will work through the night. It will not take the time that they thought. The outcome of the vote will be much different, but it will still be Joe Biden. The results, the Electoral College results, will be verified. If you're technical, it won't be tonight. It'll be tomorrow morning, but it'll be a continuation of this evening's meeting.
All right, folks. I am going to try to get the comments in here. For some reason, I've got to make. Oh, there we go. A lot of people are saying hello, and I think obviously everybody's kind of happy that we're on tonight. I have Kim Centeno out of Washington State.
Hey, Tim.
CB Unglesby.
CB?
Yeah, CB. Are you, again? I keep forgetting. You're from West Virginia. Yeah.
He's
18,
probably
12.
George. He's probably Brian's next door neighbor. Brian gets no.
Now
clue
my
where
neighbor's a
we're from.
Trumper. CB's not a Trumper, so we can assure on that. And so we're having a lot of comments coming in left and right tonight. And
You got it, Kim.
first of all,
100%
I don't know
correct.
whether we should begin with, the actual event, because we have to, because this event is ongoing. Are they going to continue this tonight, or we say I'm just upset because I know that there were some congressmen who said that the police did a valiant job given the situation, but there are pictures. There's a picture of a policeman having a selfie with one of these terrorists, domestic terrorists. No, but it's disgusting, and I can't stand this. And Dave, you know this, and George, I'll let you know this. I think one of the most difficult events for me this past year was that Kyle Rittenhouse thing, where he decides he's going to take matters into his own hands at the age of 17, kills two people, and then the police are high-fiving him and giving him water. And then we saw what happened in Lafayette with Black Lives Matter, and they bring out the what do you call him? I guess the Secretary of Defense, or one of the generals, and they're using helicopters and gas on people who weren't violent at all. They were peaceful. And then this happens. I mean, there's hardly any type of barricading. You have a few police in this state capitol, and that's it. What's happening?
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
All right. First, let's. I was so looking forward to Saturday when we found out that the Republicans had lost Georgia. I was so looking forward to Saturday because I had so much stuff I wanted to talk about. It is irrelevant now because of what happened today. Well, it's not irrelevant, but it's second base. We knew that the president was calling for protesters to come to D.C. He'd been saying it for 6 weeks. January 6th, meet me in D.C. January 6th, I'll be in D.C. We knew that there was going to be thousands of fanatics on the other end of the mall while the Capitol was assembling. We knew the plan was to get all his people there in the morning, get Rudy Giuliani, Don Jr., and any other Kool-Aid dispensers to rouse up the crowd, and then leave them and say, go forth and create mayhem in the name of your God, Trump.
Right.
So we knew this was going to happen. Now, fast forward to the summer when Black Lives Matter in August had planned a peaceful rally at the Capitol also, at the Lincoln Memorial. Now, they were at the Lincoln Memorial, but outside the Capitol, they had full gear, military, National Guard protecting the Capitol for no reason. Peaceful protests. People came in, speakers, everybody from Al Sharpton to a little girl who was 16 years old, all spoke, talked about this is the time for us to come together as a country. This is the time for us to register to vote. This is the time to take back the insanity that had been persuaded over the country, to take it back and throw it in the closet where it's been. They were ready for a riot. And like you mentioned about Lafayette Square, the president wanted to take a picture with a Bible upside down like the Antichrist. So he cleared the floor with tear gas so he could walk across the street, take a photo out of a Bible, holding it upside down. He said, someone handed it to me on the way over. It wasn't even my personal Bible. So he only probably owned a personal Bible.
Right.
So they did all this in Lafayette Square and all summer chaos. I'll take what happened this summer, showing what democracy is, with people speaking up for the injustice of the common man, a common man that was killed, George Floyd, a common woman who was killed in her home, Breonna Taylor, a common man who was just running, running, doing his cardio, getting his cardio in and get accosted. You can't even go for a run. I'll take the protest for a man or a woman who are walking the streets trying to be a citizen versus a demagogue who's afraid to be out of office because he knows there's a slew of prosecutory allegations waiting for him in the Southern District of New York, millions of dollars he owes across the world to different countries. He's only doing this for himself. And then you got people like Ted Cruz, who's like, I'll go to the Supreme Court for you, Donald, and I'll plead your case. They're placating these guys so that they're hoping that in the next 2 years, when he's in jail and disgraced, that one of them could pick up a third or maybe even half of that 74 million of confused Americans. It's all about the next election. Ted Cruz could care less what happens in Pennsylvania. Ted Cruz could care less what happens in Georgia.
Right.
Lindsey Graham, he could care less what happens in Arizona. They're only worried about their power structure and their piece of the future pie. I was going to talk to you guys about the 1877 when the Electoral College was formed. I was going to talk about the Electoral College and how important it was and how ineffective it is now because of the slavery issue and the compromise. It's called the Compromise of 1877. I was so excited to talk about that because I love history, but we have just watched history created that people around the world are talking about all around the world. I don't know, bro.
Well, it's very depressing. I think it's the fact that these people are duplicitous. George, even today, I explained this to Dave. I don't want to go into detail because it involves work and all. But toward the end of my work, I heard some comments. Somebody told me, well, I think it's something like Antifa, kind of dressing up as Trumpers. And then another person who's like supposedly the cool-minded one in the group. I'm talking to him after work, and he's saying, I just want to watch this thing without volume. I want to kind of see what's going on here and not make any judgments. I said, it's kind of easy. I said, it's 2 + 2. You see the flags, you see some of the shirts, some of them had Q's on them. This is not Antifa. This is what it is. And yet, supporters of him and even people who are, for whatever reason, trying to seem in between. I mean, I don't know what it is with some people. Just they have to be in between something to seem smarter. But this is so simple. This is so 2 + 2. It's obvious who they were. We and as you said, George, this thing is basically planned because they instigated, they incited it. He had Giuliani talking his crap about force or whatever. I mean, this one doesn't take much. It really is what it is. The only question is, did Trump, actually give an order? He's the type of guy, as Michael Cohen said, he doesn't have to say something. He can just kind of intimate it. He can just, give a wink and we're ready to go here, And especially here, Dave, how about his response? Wasn't that, what kind of response was that?
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to take issue with both of you. Not what you said. Every word you said was true. It was the tone of your voice. And here's what the tone was, as most normal Americans should be. Where the hell is my country gone? Well, I'm going to answer that for you. Your country changed 4 years ago when enough Americans to elect Donald Trump were able to elect Donald Trump. Okay? There's absolutely nothing that man does that should surprise any of us. There is no high that he can reach because he's incapable of doing it. There is no low that he will not sink to. So there, first of all, is that. So I accept any feelings. They're all legitimate in terms of this. These are scary times, whatever it is, uncertain times. It's never happened before. Kim kindly put up, which is 100%. We haven't had a pandemic since 1916, so that's new to us. There hasn't been a takeover of the Capitol since 1812, and that was an outside army. Even during the Civil War, the Southern troops never were able to. They would have wanted to take over and saw what we witnessed today. Brian, you said 2 + 2. Well, look, I'm going to rely on a couple of cliches tonight, even though as a writer or speaker, you're never supposed to use them, because cliches are good because they're simple. And they're good because they're simply overused, which means they're true today and were true yesterday and will be true tomorrow. You said 2 + 2 = 4. When a president says, come to the nation's capital, and we're going to have a wild day, and that message is directed to people who believe in their hearts that something very valuable has been taken from them. And they believe that their country has been taken from them. Some of them believe it whether Trump is there or not. Some of them believe because Trump has told them it's true. And they come. And what happened, happened. It doesn't surprise me at all. I feel much sorrow for the unknown person. I guess we do know now that she's a woman. I guess the one person that was killed. Probably what we'll find out. I don't know that, but my inclination, my guess is that she was probably a staffer or someone there in the building. Now, I like the questions that are coming up. And
by the way, this one here relates to what you're saying, though, is that you're talking about like what you feel sorry for, but I mean, you still have to bring up, where was
Who
the
did I say? Who I
police?
said? Shush. Who did I say I felt sorry for?
The young
Well,
lady.
the woman who was shot.
Yeah, you don't feel sorry for her.
Absolutely, I feel sorrow for her. I
Then
mean,
what was the point of your comment?
my point is that, of all the things that we can feel better, there's some things we have to feel angry about. And maybe I'm wrong,
Brian,
but
no. You
Osama
have
brings
to.
up they started bashing heads 10 minutes
You
before the
have
curfew.
Brian. Stop it. You have to win. You have to defeat them. Good must be evil. Okay? That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how you do it. Okay? It doesn't matter whether you do it with love or with anger. Love is not going to do it this time.
Well, I don't want to see
Anger,
anybody taking a selfie with one
anger,
of them.
anger is not going to do it this time. Cold, calculated thinking.
Do you think
is
they
going
were
to-
actually calculating, though, or was it just happenstance that they decided? First of all, the barricades were low. You only
Okay,
had
let
the
me ask you
Capitol
something.
Police.
Brian, you're falling into this trap. You're watching it on TV and you want it to play out that way. Let me ask you a question. Is there any terrorists in the Capitol tonight?
Not the ones who. Well, I don't know, but I would say no.
All right. Now, can the vote be held tonight?
They're doing it now.
They're trying it. They're
doing
trying
now.
it.
They're trying. Come on, Brian. You know better than that. That's you couching it behind how you want to hide. They're doing it right now.
Yes, but
All right.
will they get it done?
Are you going to listen and learn something, son? Now,
Okay.
are they
Father,
doing it right
I
now?
keep saying you're my dad when I go in the
Here we go.
restaurant, but
Here
you
we
won't
go.
accept it.
I understand how you feel. This is not a time for feelings. This is a time for action. All right. So what was the purpose of today? The purpose of today was to certify the results of electoral college votes that have been certified by the 50 states. For hundreds of years, it has been ceremonial. Because we have the person we have in the White House, he decided to make it something more than that. Because he has supporters that have as much knowledge of the Constitution as they do of the Klingon language on Star Trek, if it were a real language, they decide, oh, we can stop this. Guess what? They didn't. They didn't. All right? That's number one. Number two, let's not be naive. There are two ways to stop them, basically. You can stop them on the spot. You could have shot every one of them dead. Do you know what that would have done to America?
That I agree with you, but I think there's some things.
Stop. You can't talk.
Why? Again, look, I'm going to ask you. Why couldn't they have stopped that? I mean, at least I read they're going to have all these National Guard there. Didn't seem to really happen.
They did not have. They did not. First of all, they didn't. That's a mistake. Now, they've already announced that there will be an investigation into how the hell that happened. I can't answer that. You can't answer that. Anyone with common sense can't answer it. Right now, we're seeing comment after comment after comment, which makes sense. It must have been an inside job. I'm going to submit that it didn't have to be in this sense. All right. If you are unprepared, how many times, Brian, and I'm using you tonight, not as Brian, but as everyone who doesn't live and work in Washington, D.C. How many times have you been inside the Capitol in your lifetime?
Once.
Okay. And I've done a couple times more than that. All right. First of all, there are a number of ways to enter the Capitol. But as normally what happens is you're stopped, you're searched, you comply. That's normal, right? That's the normal entrance. Judy, one time, to just give you a personal story, I'm always doing it. She wanted to go visit a friend who was in Frank Lobiondo's office when Frank, and I looked at her like she was crazy. I said, we're not going to get in here. Oh, they stopped us. They wouldn't let us in. I mean, normally that's what happens. And we didn't take over. Now, go back and look at the film, everybody. What happened is they rushed the doors. Now, if you want to say they should have been better prepared, yes.
That's what I'm saying.
I understand that.
There's no reason for them to get into the Capitol.
Well, okay. What I'm saying, they should have been better prepared, but guess what? They weren't. Okay?
Yeah.
They weren't.
Okay. George himself said they knew shit was up. They knew it was coming.
I'm not defending either
that's
action
the
there.
standard in America, though.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to, George. Thank you. You've given a great segue. Now, what was revealed today? Now, some things we think we know, but obviously we don't. If 74 million people voted for Donald Trump, not everybody in America knows what we know. Okay? So what was revealed today? Donald Trump, if you walk away from today, denying that he is an anti-American terrorist ensconced in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, man, you're completely lost. You might have been lost before. Secondly, if any white, black, green, purple person believes that there's a double standard of justice in the United States of America, one for white people like me and another
goes along with his comment here.
I understand that. Now,
number three,
if you are naive enough in America to believe that the police forces are out and don't have racists on them,
that's another issue.
Also insane. All right. Number 4, in Washington, D.C., more than any other place, there's 782 bosses, right? And you wait for this guy, you wait for that. I'm saying it's not a corrupt system. It's a dysfunctional system. Now, you also get a chance now, which you would have had without this, but now it gets really real. George, you were right on the money. I mean, nobody could convince me otherwise. Neither the gentleman, I use that term loosely, from Arizona, nor Mr. Cruz, they are positioning themselves for a run in 2024. There's no question. That's why they're doing what they're doing. My favorite is Kelly Loeffler, who never has a woman of ill repute suffered a more rebuke than she did last night. Can you imagine being a white racist, the richest woman in the Senate being beaten by a black minister? That, my friends, is karmic. And the fact that he happened to be the minister in the church, Ebenezer Baptist, where Martin Luther King preached, that borders on the divine. And the fact that he had to be the minister of a certain gentleman who I would say in my lifetime, with no disrespect to Dr. King, I believe John Lewis is the bravest, most American person that I have seen in my 68 years on the planet. Having said that, it gets even a little bit better in Georgia. John Ossoff, who began his political career as an aide to John Lewis, defeats Frank Perdue, the chicken man, or whatever.
I'm going to stop you there for a second here.
Oh.
Before we get to Ossoff and Warnock.
Why? That's
because
the big
we're not done. Because
I'm not saying we're done. That's the big news. You're dismissing it as that isn't important. Brian,
just listen. Follow your own advice and listen. You ignore what you defend.
I don't want you to say bullshit. I'm not listening.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're crazy.
Make a
man's
fool of
insane.
yourself. Go ahead,
He's crazy. I told you to get videos today and you didn't do it. Okay? So I did, folks. I sent him a message last night. You were a journalist. You should get videos. But anyway, my point is, first of all, it's 8:46 tonight. We're not done. I'm not talking about the show. I'm talking about. You think that this is just they're out there somewhere in D.C.
You want to know where they are right now?
Yeah, I want to know where they are.
They're right under my basement. I was with hundreds of them today.
Did you get video?
No, I talked to them.
Some of them could have been guilty of whatever.
No, you dumb shit. They couldn't be guilty of it. I wanted to watch.
I had to tell you about the events. I honestly, folks, I swear to God, I had to call him. He didn't know what was going on. Everything.
You want to know why I didn't know what was going on? Because I was with them. So I sat there and we watched their people take over the Capitol. Because I wanted to hear their reaction. I don't give a shit about your reaction, George's reaction, or my reaction.
I know their reaction.
What do you think it was?
Because if they're in front of you, I'm sure they tempered things.
They did not. They did not. You know what they said? No, they didn't. They said this.
I'll tell you, they said they were proud of what they did when they were interviewed by MSNBC. The very people coming off that lawn said, they said, "Are you proud of what you've done?" And they said, "Yes." Almost every one of them.
If you'd let me say what they said, unless you want to tell
me. All right,
I'm
going to listen. I'm going to listen.
Jesus God. All right. So basically, we're sitting there. If you can picture this in your little mind, we're sitting there watching it on TV, and I'm watching it with a number of Trump supporters who had come back from the protest part of the protest. Now, let's not get carried away. Even though I disagree with them, they had a right to protest today. That's an American right. Let's not forget that. They did not have a right today to move that into a full-fledged mob action riot, terrorist attack.
True.
With the protest. So these people, I'm not saying they're good people. I'm not saying they're bad people. What I am going to say is the biggest problem we have in America today is not politics. It's not religion, although they're all out there. We have a damn reality problem. Now, put this, if you can get this in your head, Brian. I know all the other listeners can. So I'm sitting there as we're watching this on TV in the Crystal City Underground, and they actually said this. They said, "But we don't do the kinds of things that your side does." I said, "Oh, my side, I mean, we're clear." I said,
"What do you mean?" What about routine?
No, well, yeah, they said we aren't violent. We don't destroy property, as they watch their own people go inside, break the law, and destroy the Capitol. Now, here's the problem. America has a reality problem. Any other solution is not going to work. You're not going to pray them back to health. You're not going to love them back to health. You have two choices. One is you outwork, you outvote, you outthink, you outhustle, do them that way. Well, you got three. I'm sorry. That's one. The second
don't make
is
17 though. Okay, 3.
You can't count that fucking high, so I'm not going to make 17. That would be fast. Okay. That's 14 more than
we only have a certain amount of time here. Okay.
I don't care.
Okay, give me your 3. Give me your 3.
If you wouldn't talk and let George and I have a decent discussion, it'd be a much better damn program.
Come on.
Just push buttons. You don't do that very well.
All right, let's go. Come on.
Okay, so here we go. You can kill them. Is that what you want to do, Brian?
If they're trying to kill us, they go first.
Brian,
right now, I don't want to kill them. No.
No. Do you want to kill the people today that you saw in Washington, D.C. that were protesting?
If they died, I wouldn't have a problem. That
isn't the question. You talk about them begging.
I want them prosecuted.
Yeah, I like that.
There you are.
I like that.
George, you see why George is on this show, and it should be George Lennon's show.
Well, how many arrests did they make? If there was Black Lives Matter, they would have had 10 times, 100 times the amount.
And you want to know something? If they were giants, they would have crushed the Capitol if they were Godzilla.
Okay.
You want to play that
game? It wasn't done. It's disgusting.
It wasn't done because Donald Trump is the president, because the police are racist, because Donald Trump has let racist America be emboldened, and they now believe that they are America. Now, the other thing that they told me to a person, nope, Kim, it's all my opinion tonight, not Brian's, we'll give it to George. Because what happens is, it makes me angry, Brian. You know what makes me angry? Our side. No, our side. We want it right now. You're not going to get it right now. You have Donald Trump. What do you expect, Brian? Where do you expect goodness to come from evil? You tell me.
Well, I thought that the Virginia National Guard was going to come out. Can't the governor?
I don't want to hear thoughts.
Can't a neighboring governor? George, you know stuff about National Guard and all that kind of stuff. What can we do?
Someone said this to me earlier, that the National Guard were prepared to protect metropolitan Washington, D.C. So the National Guard and the rest of the police forces, other than the Capitol Police, which when I took my RTC unit there a couple of years ago, we couldn't stay on the steps long, and they ushered us off because there were too many of us, But they were ready to protect downtown Washington, the establishment, small businesses, things that were rioted before. They were geared and had their vehicles pointed in that direction. They didn't believe that, and they didn't believe that white Americans were going to storm the Capitol.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
They were like, no, we don't do that. We're law-abiding citizens because we have the law-abiding president. So they didn't expect the Capitol to be inundated with the force that came. So remember, this morning, 11 o'clock, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Don Jr., and a couple other sycophants held a rally to stop the steal. They fed him gunpowder. They tied him in a corner. They rabble roused them. They got him ready to go to battle. I've heard speeches by military commanders. I've heard speeches by football coaches that paled in comparison as far as motivating the troops to go out and battle based on what these jokers were saying. And then they got in their cars and drove away. And then they left this mass of people fired up, echo chamber in the Great Lawn, and then told them they're all in the Capitol. Go get them. Let them know you're here. Let them know we're not going to stand for democracy the way they want it. And then they left. No leadership. Nobody stand your ground. They left. Went and watched it on TV. Donald Trump got his hat on, watching it on TV, while they're storming the Capitol, busting windows out. Granted, Black Lives Matter, the Antifa people, as well as the infiltrators who infiltrated all the Black Lives Matter protesters, they did tear up some stuff. They did tear up Seattle, Portland. They did tear up some stuff in New York, Chicago, all these different places where we had to validate their anger. As a Black man, I had to validate to some people, we mad for 400 years and we're tired of it. Like in the network TV movie, I'm tired of it and I'm not going to stand for it anymore. So now, what are these people mad at? Because they had to wear a mask? What are these people mad at? Because
George,
Donald Trump told them, I got robbed.
right.
He's robbing everybody right now, brothers. He's got $250 million in his pocket right now that he can do whatever he wants to do. And again, Ted Cruz, how all those sycophants, they're pulling at his strings. All right, Mr. Trump, we did what you asked us to do. I'm sorry. 4 years from now, there's going to be another election. 4 years from now, we're going to be sitting on the 6th of January, validating another set of votes. The Republican Party has to decide in the next 2 years, are they going to represent the country, or are they going to represent individuals who are looking for supremacy and power versus democracy and humanity? Those are going to be the difference right there. Are you representing the United States of America or yourself? And to a man, I think more Republicans, and I'm not wrong, not all Republicans are wrong. Not all Republicans are crazy. I never bought into one of those things when Hillary Clinton said Donald Trump followers are deplorable people, because I have some family members and some personal good friends that are Republicans. I even voted for baby Bush the second time. So I can't blame all Republicans, but I have to blame those people. I have to blame those people who are in charge, who know that they got some people that's like ravenous dogs. You know what I'm saying? They know that these people are Looney Tunes. And that's what I look at. I swear to God, I look at it as some people are having some mass hysteria. I forgot what that syndrome is called, Dave, where multiple people in society start believing in the same insanity, and it becomes an outbreak, and everybody starts thinking the same thing. So you got these people believing in conspiracy theories. I believe in conspiracy theory. I believe it was a Russian. I believe the Russians interfered with our election. So that's a conspiracy. Until it's proven factual and people actually believe it, it's a conspiracy. But I'm not going to believe in Pizzagate. I'm not going to believe that Dominion's taking parts out of the machines right now as we speak. I'm not going to believe that there's millions of dead people that voted. I literally know people that quote these things he's saying verbatim. So it's not just Donald Trump. It's the people who are around him. It's the people who are around him. Donald Trump is going to be out of office in 14 days. What are we going to do with the rest of the country?
Well, that's a good point here, George. We still have, 13 or 14 days left of this. And, let's just suppose Dave is correct and everything gets certified tonight or by tomorrow morning, whatever.
Let me make one point, Brian, just to that, because you have a tendency to do this. I'm not saying things will be better tomorrow morning.
No, I understand
What
that.
I'm-
You'll see. I'll get certified.
One thing at a time, and one other thing, just to make Kim mad, because she just wants to hear from you and George. I only want to hear from George, so I just keep you from talking.
How did I guess
Is
that?
is this fact? We can't, ladies and gentlemen, we can't underestimate what happened last night. You know, in the election in Georgia, we can't, and here's why we can't. Mitch McConnell today arrived with less power than he had 24 hours ago. He still has it till, January 20th. He's now just another senator. Okay. Chuck Schumer now has the power. That means that the 453 bills on Mitch McConnell's desk that he refuses to put through, even for a vote, and not all of them would have been approved, they will be up for a vote now. If it comes down to a 50-50 tie, which is the way it could be along party lines, it will be 51-50 to the Democrats, because
If Joe Manchin does the
because
right thing.
that you can't underestimate that. Then we fall victim to exactly one of the things that Trump puts out there. Go back and look at his pattern. Every time he puts up all these smoke screens and diversions that are horrible, he doesn't care. I mean, I understand we sit here but I still get this impression that people look at him as if he's human. He's not. What we have here, I mean, yes, I'm an English teacher, and yes, maybe I overrate literature, but what we have here has been played out multiple times in literature. One is the Frankenstein monster story. The Republican Party created a monster president that is now out of their control.
But how do we get through the next? What happens? I mean, that's what because now it's in this limbo land, because they have to make a move, because if he is certified, Trump's obviously going to go ballistic.
Is he?
I know. There's only one fix for it. We, as the same Democrat, independent, thinking, logical human beings, we cannot fix it. The people who broke it, the ones who pushed Pinocchio off the edge of the wall, they're the ones that's going to have to fix what they've broken. They're the ones that's going to have to rectify. And right now, I said this before, the Republican Party is going to splinter seriously.
Yes.
Because when we were coming on today, I was in the hallway listening to Mitch McConnell speak, and he has no choice but to eat crow right now. And he made a speech saying that basically the same thing we were always saying, this should have never happened. Joe Biden is going to be our president in 14 days. Get over it. And that's what he just said.
And
Brian, the next gentleman got up. I think he's from Arizona. He got up, maybe Colorado. He got up. He was a Republican. And he said, we came here to protest. What we had intended to happen didn't happen. We need to get back to being Americans. The Republican Party is going to have to decide, is it party? And I'm not going to say country. I'm going to say, is it party or is it Trump? And I got a strong feeling. You saw those "Don't Tread on Me" signs. Yeah. The Tea Party is underneath all of that. So I think the Tea Party zealous, those right-wing, crazy people, the far right, they're all going to make their own party. I foresee it. Trust me, believe me. Knock on wood. If it don't happen in 3 years, it's going to happen in 7 years. The Republican Party is going to split unless they can fix it. And the only way they can fix it is to expel all those crazy people. Yeah. Rachel asked the questions. He said when he was running for office, remember, 4 years ago, I can walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and nobody would do anything about it. And that's because if you listen to the people talk about elitism, they talk about the people who can do anything they want to do because they have money. That's Donald Trump. When he tells you he can bus, he could grab a woman by her vagina and put his tongue in her mouth, and they won't do anything about it because he got money. The people with money believe they can do things like that.
George, I have a question for you. It's along racial line. I'm not an expert in being black.
Me neither.
So here's the thing. Now I know that, but unfortunately, you're labeled that way, right? So I'm going to say, I mean, for me, I looked at George Floyd as a wake up moment for white America. It was pretty hard to walk away from that moment. Now you're fighting 401 years, George, which you know far better than I, of oppression, whether it's slavery, Jim Crow, today, unequal, whatever it is. So, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It should, but it should happen by Friday. Now, I wonder today, though, I really do wonder today, and you're hearing it already a lot. It was pretty hard to look at, and to get to your point, Brian, it was pretty hard to watch the inaction of authorities and not say, man, if they were Black people, how different would it be? And I think if you put all this together, right, I think you do get a moment. And George, the breaking up of look, what's happened that's so bad, gentlemen? Georgia went blue. Is that a bad thing? And you keep saying, no, it isn't. All right. And guess who went down there to try? Trump. Guess who lost? Two of his supporters, right? I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a joke here. It may not be a night for a joke, but it's not. I'm never going to run for office, but I did. I want Stacey Abrams to run my campaign, and I want the Lincoln Project
She
to
saved
do my
the country.
PR.
She and Jim Claiborne saved the country.
And every Black voter in America saved the damn country. Okay.
Right.
And so get over it, you white people. If it weren't,
I've never become so self-hating over the last.
Well,
I've always had a complete empathy for any minorities, especially African Americans. But I've said this over the last. I feel it so much in my bone. It hurts. I feel Black because I'm so angry, and then when people like George talk to me, says, dude, this is every day for me, and it's hard to explain. And he did say that to me. He said, this is what
true.
it's like,
Every day at school for the last 4 years, as I'm walking to sign in or coming from signing in, I have to cross Brian's classroom.
Right. And my condolences.
And some days, especially if something crazy happened overnight, and a couple of times I think Brian was actually waiting for me in the hallway.
Right. George, you can't believe it. I'm in the middle of class, I leave. There's George. I'll just talk.
And that's when the kids learn the most, when you're not there.
And I'll be like, calm down, and it's crazy because I love Brian to death because and I have a handful of friends of guys that I know.
You're not calling Brian your friend, are you? Oh Lord!
I am. He's one of my.
Okay.
He's one of my.
Cooler than you, Dave.
That's one of your imperfections.
Now you got him depressed.
But see, Dave, I've always called you one of my mentors because you was there when I first got there.
Now, that makes logical sense, George.
It's all right. When listening to a thing he has to say.
Come on, man.
But every time, I can't express to you guys at least 3 times a week. I'm in Brian's classroom or his office, conducting school business, and we just can't help but it's like we don't have a water cooler that we can go to.
Right.
We got a chalkboard we have to go to.
Right.
And being a teacher, it's hard because in the classroom I'm trying not to be political.
Right.
I'm trying not to express my political views. That's why we're not friends with students on Facebook. But the ones who graduate, as soon as they graduate and they come to my post, they be like, yo, Sarge, you killing them out there. I'm not killing them. I'm trying to educate them.
Or they'll say to you, I always knew you was cool, like that. You're like, all of a sudden, they're, hey, this guy's actually pretty cool.
Wait a minute. You've had students say that to you?
Yes.
Jesus. Okay. I got to get back to Bridgeton for a day.
But if I may interrupt, George, for 1 second, because you have a question from some, the audience. I just got pulled away. That was our boss, and what a nice person he is. He called to check on me. He says, "There's one person I know that this is really affecting, and I just wanted to check to see how you're doing." And that's the decent human being. I've had good bosses and all, but this guy is he knows me. He knows me.
Carl?
Yeah, and he called. That's he just called me. I said, I got to know how you're doing.
That was very nice.
Dave, Lynn was a sweetheart.
Oh no,
But
I know I
but
followed it.
Carl is a general.
Uh, Not
He's a
tonight.
general.
Remind me to tell you a Carl story before he was principal that puts all of that into that. And it's not Carl acting, which you know, it's not a new Carl. I had occasion to know him a few years ago, and he's the same person. And he's just a great human being. There's no question about it.
You know, I got to tell you, Carl likes hockey, and I used to be a hockey player a long time ago, and you know, he was playing up with the Flyers practice about 5 years ago or 4 years ago when I first met him. He says, "Look, I'm going to be playing with some guys," and Dave, I probably told you the story, but he was in a men's league, and it was in this game was getting nasty, and I don't care where you are, you know, if you have a stick in your hand and things get intense in hockey, people can get in fights, and this thing started to get nasty. The thing that I showed up to, and Carl was he was amazing. There was this scrum of all these people ready to literally fight. Their the sticks, and he got in between. He says, "Look, come on, guys. You know, whatever he was doing, he calmed everybody down. You know, he said, this is only a game. Look, we'll be okay. Well, let's get
Can I stop?
space."
Can I stop you there
That's
for
the
a
guy
moment?
he is.
I
That's
stop you there
hard
for
to
that
do.
moment. You just taught a lesson, and you don't realize it. The two of you, okay, with Carl.
Leadership.
There you are. End of story. So I'm going to go. I just want to go back to this to everybody out there, everybody in the world tonight. Donald Trump is not a leader. He
No.
can't be a leader. We've got to stop expecting him or being surprised or being astounded when he's not a leader. That's number one. Now, Brian, you know, you and I joke and we've been playing tonight and everything, but I do want to do this. Not what you're upset about, because everything you're upset about is legitimate. What I do want to do, I think people out there is, you know, what is so bad about what happened? I honestly, maybe I'm missing something. I didn't see anything that I didn't expect.
Well, I want you to read this, if you don't mind, by Trev. That's what pisses me off.
Is that today? I would ask.
That's what I got to ask. Trev's
because
been
it's
with
happened
me.
before too.
I think that happened during the protest. During
Yeah,
the
it
summer.
happened before. Yeah, last couple of years. Look,
And
I don't want to
they-
burst. I don't want to burst anybody's illusions out there, but America was made, survived, and promulgates itself on myths. Okay, the myth of freedom, the myths of all men are created equal, and what we're finding is those myths are crumbling, and it's not the worst thing. You know, maybe we really could get around after all of this. Unfortunately, human beings don't do things ahead of time. They have to be confronted. And the thing that I think I don't say I've spent more time than anyone, but I think than most people here with these Trumpers who come in, and they are as convinced as all of us are tonight that they are right. That doesn't justify them. It doesn't, make me admire them. What it does make me understand is that they are going to fight as hard as we are going to fight. And the difference is, I think one of the differences, or I hope it's a difference, is there are certain lines that I will not cross in that fight. And obviously we saw some of those today. I will not vandalize property. I will not take over the Capitol. Of all the things we've talked about tonight, the one that I think, we may never have the answer. The one answer is the one thing that I can't explain, and it doesn't explain it. My dance around about blacks have different than white. How did they get into the Capitol so easily? Now, if you look at the film, and I have, it was a gate rush, right? Now, if you look and look at how helpless those officers are in the middle of that. There's one that played over and over today. I don't know if you caught it. The black gentleman, one with a stick being backed up the stairs by a group coming at him. Then finally, three officers with guns come out there. That, I think, is going to be something that we need to look into. We also need tonight, George, you've hit it. You said it better than any of us could about the Republican Party. We may be witnessing the death of the Republican Party in real time. And I say, let it die. Okay. I saw Kim, I think it was Kim's, a couple others tonight, saying we need a third party. The problem is we've created a system. I don't know that there can ever be a viable third party simply because there's too much money involved, to do that. Do you know how much money was spent in Georgia?
$1
A
billion.
lot.
And I gave some of it.
And I did too. And it was worth every cent I gave. And I'll even say to lose, it's worth, I sent some, I wanted to see your good friend, the congressman or the senator from the one you like so much, Brian, the senator from South Carolina that you think is so good, be defeated. And he wasn't. But, the other thing is, and maybe this is the English teacher in me or the writer in me talking, words matter. They really do matter. And Donald Trump doesn't get it. Or he does get it better than I think he does. Either way, he said words that didn't matter. Did you guys get a chance to listen to Biden's
Yes.
speech?
Yes.
That's a president. That's a president. Okay. He's not Carl. Okay. Because it's a country and it's a little different than running a school, but that's a leader. That's what a leader says. That's what a leader does. Talking about the mask and not mask. Most of the people that I saw inside the Capitol were unmasked by that point. They have cameras in there. Now, if we don't prosecute to the fullest, every person whose picture we can identify, and you know how it works, George, and you know how it works, Brian. You catch one, you say, well, give us 5 more names and we'll give you a half sentence, just to get everybody. They have to be prosecuted. Look at who's going to be the attorney general. Now, I understand he's a very fair man and all that. Mitch McConnell stopped him from being a Supreme Court justice. Okay? He's got a vested interest. Donald Trump on stage insulted both of Joe Biden's sons. That's personal. Okay? You've still seen, and it's still out there, and it's the most despicable of all the memes, the slut Kamala Harris. They're ready, guys. They're ready. Okay. They're ready. The calls came out today that the president should resign. That's going to happen. If I were running it, I'm not. I would move for impeachment tomorrow, just to jam him up. I would move, and there is movement right now as we speak. So you said Georgia, and other people said 25th Amendment. There's a movement now to do that. But what Trump has done, and this is not a bad thing for America, Trump has shown that he deserves absolutely no mercy. None.
None.
And in fact, I consider myself a nonviolent man, but I consider what Donald Trump did to be traitorous and treasonous. The ultimate penalty for them, that is death. If indeed he were found guilty, and I was convinced that he was guilty, and it wouldn't take much convincing because I already am, I would gladly volunteer to pull the switch on Donald Trump. And I would sleep as soundly that night as I will tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, please don't lose sight in all this. It's horrible. It's scary. It's frightening. But if the great men of America in our lifetime, John Lewis, Dr. King, the odds were stacked worse against them. Barack Obama, keep hope alive. And you know when we need most hope right now? You need hope when it looks hopeless. That's what we need. And we're getting it. We got Georgia, Jesus, Christmas, guys.
Yeah, look, I was able to celebrate it for about, 8 hours. I mean,
Brian, the world's not about you, and I'm not putting you down.
No, look, but but I'm saying I know everybody's the same person as me. If you're a liberal, you got to be sick to the back of your teeth of this stuff. It's the same crap. You and I, anybody out there, is the same shit. Everybody's pissed.
Do you want to know when it's going to end, Brian? When the battle against good and evil ends. Do you want to know when it ends? When you die.
Yeah.
It's been fought.
Well, now there's another me that'll come up after. There's another me.
Heaven help us if there is. Brian, seriously.
I mean it metaphorically. There's another me.
I know what you meant, but seriously, guys, this is about as preachy as I'm going to get. But I am going to say this. Look, we all want to win. We all want, especially if we're convinced we're right. But that's not what life's about. Life is about picking the good side and fighting on the side of right, win or lose. That's not Don Quixote. That's a mission. That's why we're here. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Yes, it is tiring. Yes, we get disgusted. Yes, 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 yes. But it's the cards we have been dealt by being human beings, and there's a price to be paid for being a good human being. And that price is you have to continue the fight who aren't good.
Well, here's a quick photo from our page, gentlemen, and this is one of the ones that got me upset. This is apparently, if this is a legitimate photo, and it looks like it is, this has been going around. This is one of the I guess it's the
that's the DC police.
DC.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting a selfie with this person. You know what?
Inside.
That's inexcusable. That is inexcusable. That son of a bitch should go right down with the, because he's a policeman, and to do something like that. I mean, I don't care how many. If it's 13 days, whenever Merrick Garland gets in, just like Kyle Rittenhouse, this son of a bitch, they got to put him away. This is a bunch of crap.
The only way that they don't need to do that, there is one way. If his job was to stand there, if he was told to stand there and do nothing, you don't see him encouraging that selfie, do you, Brian?
Let's go back to it.
I don't know. I didn't see him encouraging it. I see him not moving. Now, look at the position of the camera. Is the camera really on the officer? We have to look at those kinds of things. It's not clear, correct? I don't see the officer in the picture. Oh my. Is it illegal to take a selfie?
Now, I've been in that officer situation before, where I've been on duty and somebody's walked up and said, hey, and take a selfie near me, while I was in uniform. Right. And I tried to, I looked at the camera, but I was trying to stay as professional as possible. And even in class sometimes, in school, I had a couple kids try to take, they'll say, hey, Sarge. And then when I turn, they'll try to take a selfie, and I'll, look away, whatever. But I do not see him in the photo.
No, Brian, and what you were doing is a natural reaction.
Okay, I'm angry. Yeah, maybe I am wrong. I mean, look, I'm willing to admit my mistakes.
What you're doing, it doesn't change that fact, because we know that officers were allowed Kyle Rittenhouse. There were selfies taken with him in pictures,
and they gave him water.
The problem is, and this is what makes it so difficult. You have to judge each of these individually, because look, if we want to be the good guys, we have to first of all make right. Okay. I'm disagreeing, Mantra. I'm disagreeing, Russ. I'm saying he needs to be questioned. You need to look at what happened.
He did look nervous.
What? Yeah,
he did look kind of nervous.
Yeah, we all want our pound of flesh, but that's not what it's about. It's about winning, but it's about winning honestly and decently. Okay? Now, if we find out that there was any kind of collusion between yes, then. But that picture, I'm sorry, maybe I'm missing something. I'm going to question that officer, but I'm not going to dismiss him automatically on the spot. That is as wrong.
And then he has at least 10 guys around him. It looks like he's surrounded. I don't know if he walked into, we don't know if he walked into that crowd or after they had, at one point, it seemed like the Capitol Police fell back into the tunnels to protect their job is to protect the representatives, the senators, and the congressmen. And
George,
I'm sorry. And so the Capitol Police fell back into, their job is not to hold the ground. Their job is to protect the occupants. And so they ushered everybody away. The Capitol Police, those police, the DC police are supposed to come and relieve them. And it's supposed to be like, all right, now you guys, we're here, you fall back. So I don't know.
This shield says, United States Capitol Police. It's blurry, but it's
Yeah,
clear enough.
he's a Capitol policeman. I think, George, another point you made,
There's another police behind him.
Right.
and I think it's important because, like I said, I want full prosecutions of those that are guilty, but I don't want to prosecute someone who's not guilty. You have to look at,
I think you have to ask the guy, what was going on.
Brian, I said that. I said that very early on. Very early on, Brian. That's not it.
I'll tell you what, if that were the case, though, he's got to go.
If that were. I'm taking the word if.
Well, you said yourself the police are corrupt.
Did I say every police was corrupt?
No.
Think about
Did I say every police was corrupt?
I know you didn't, but a lot of them are badass.
Think about the gentleman in Georgia. Think about the guy in Georgia. He was going around picking up pieces of paper, balling them up, making baskets in the trash can. Right?
Right.
Fox and Q people said he's tearing up ballots for Trump and shooting them in the trash.
Correct.
What it was, when they zoom in later on, it's the instructions on how to fill out the mail-in ballot. So when they took the ballots out the envelope, there was a stack that, hey, Brian, we do the same thing. We do the ASVAB test. We put everything on the table in piles. The scrap paper goes in one pile.
Right, exactly.
SAP, the pencils go in one pile. So what happened was his job was to go around and pick up trash. And so he acted like he was shooting in the back. So they replayed it over and over. This dude had to change his hair to blonde, shave his beard off, and go leave the state of Georgia because he had death threats because Fox and I can't think of the other right-wing TV station said that he was throwing Donald Trump ballots in the trash. So he had to leave the state.
And let's reserve our penalties.
They took it out of context. So before we say this police officer, and I got family members of police officers, before I say this police officer posed for this picture or was in a picture, it's two different things. He either posed for it or he was in it.
Or he wasn't in it at all,
Yeah.
The other thing is, Brian, and I'm responding to you because I think you are speaking for many, many Americans. Let's reserve what we really need to do for those who don't. How does just prior to this, another news story that got buried, the gentleman who's paralyzed who was shot 7 times in the back, they found that officer not guilty. Now you tell me how someone who has their back to you can be threatening you badly enough that you fire 7 times.
Let's go. You're not going to get argued from me.
Well, what I'm saying, yeah, no, I know that,
right.
But let's not go after your guy necessarily. Let's go after the real guys that need it to make real change in the police departments in America that need to be made. That's all.
Mm-hmm. These are just some photos, gentlemen, from George was mentioning Fox, so I thought I
like the fall of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And
when I was in Germany, when the Berlin Wall fell. That looks like the Berlin Wall falling.
Yeah. Well, I was there during the rush with the coup in '91, and it looked a lot, except there were tanks then. And
what do you two guys make of this statement? Anything really worth having that's important is worth fighting for. Do you believe that's true?
Yes.
Yeah,
but I don't want a crazy person, like what they think is worth fighting for. That's the problem.
I'm not saying that at all. Brian,
sanity.
What you want is that you want a break, a day off. I understand that. You don't get that. I'm sure the people in war. I was talking to a gentleman tonight who just moved in the apartment here, a complex with us, who he was talking about the different places he lived. He lived in Saddam Hussein's house. He was laughing. In other words, he was there 3 tours in that area. I'm sure he wanted the day off. He didn't get it. This is a battle. We don't get them. We don't get the days off, Brian. We don't. We want them. We're tired. We live to fight tomorrow. But I just don't want people to say, "Oh my God, there are good things that happen."
Look at
even
this crap.
through the bad.
And by the way, one of the persons I was speaking with today, and again, I don't want to go too deeply into it, but he was one of these, even-minded guys. He said, I don't want to put the volume on. I just want to watch what's going on because I don't really know what's going on. I want to figure it out for myself, and I can't really tell. I said, look at the flags, look at the cues, But look at this. I mean, it's like we were talking before. The 2 plus 2.
Why does it
Look
upset you so
at
much?
this. It
Is he
angers
your
me
brother? Is he your father? Is he
No,
your
no, but
student?
it was very disappointing because he wasn't the
Why?
Trumper. You know, he was the guy who was, you know, he probably came from a conservative family, but
So,
he
so
knows
you
Trump's
want so
crazy.
what?
I
So
want
what you want
people
him to do?
to think straight. It's look.
No,
So
what
Brian,
you want them to do?
remember,
What you want? Go ahead, George.
remember when, I remember, and I heard this conversation a lot of times from my grandfather who served in World War II, and when his Negro troops were able to secure a already abandoned Nazi prison camp, and if I had to ask my mom, but I don't think it was one with just Jewish people. It was one with all kind of different dissidents that they had. The people in the community, the people in the town, was forced to walk through there to see what was done, and 90% of them said, "I never thought that this would actually happen." But once it started happening,
Right.
I felt powerless to say anything about it. They knew it was going on,
Sure.
but they felt powerless to say anything about it. When earlier you asked, what is our country going to have to do? We're going to have more Republicans who feel empowered, like the dudes down in Georgia who stood their ground and said, "Mr. President, you're a fool."
Man,
Right.
We didn't even talk about the phone call yet. We didn't talk about the phone call.
And that's another thing that got me upset today because somebody was saying, I
No.
listened to the phone call for an hour and it sounded, you know, nothing like what they said on the news. And I said, well, I
Brian-
listened to it twice and
Brian,
it sounded worse than what I saw on the news.
It sounded like a delusional man begging
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely. But I'm telling you, George, I know people who think that was, excuse my language, fucking K. You know, and it's not
What
okay.
do I have to do to get 11,781
Right.
votes?
Right. And then he's
What
putting
do I-
pressure on him.
Yo, you know how many times I've said to people, what I gotta do to get this, you know, when I'm trying to buy a car, remember the car dealer, what I gotta do to get you to buy this car?
Right.
What I gotta do to get you to, you know, to do what I want you to do. Tell me
Brian.
what I could do. Well, he
Why?
said, what I gotta do to get 11,000.
And somebody listening to that, George, they think it's okay. That for
the
whatever
same people
reason.
probably believe to think the Ukraine phone call was okay.
Right, okay. Yeah, that was
It
okay.
was a beautiful call.
You know. And
You
that's
know
what they're
what?
upset with us about. That crap like that.
Who
We're the
you
ones
want
that are
them to-
crazy.
Do you really want them to be boys with you?
And this wasn't a male, by the way, that said this.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you can't. They don't think like us. They don't do things like us. I don't want them. I don't want to be like them, and they shouldn't want to be like me. So what are we going to do?
Well, right now what we're doing is divided we stand. I mean, it is divided. I am not hanging out with them. I mean, Brian,
that's another American myth. I defy anyone out there and I'll give the caveat, World War II, 1941 to 1945, to show me one time in American history where we were united.
right. I mean, it's just
You know what the difference is, though, Brian? Social media. We now know how many people who aren't like us are out there. And think about it. A lot of us are surrounded in our own communities, right? You know, whether by choice or whether by de facto segregation or whether by white flight or whatever it is, or whether by the fact that some way you think living in South or North Dakota is okay. I don't get that, but okay. You're out there, right? And so now, you know, you kind of live now. So everybody's kind of like me. Well, guess what? They're not. They're not. And we now know it. And the question is, which is on the floor right now, and it's the only question on the floor, what do we do about it? Now, I'm not smart enough to have the answers. Like I said, mine is we outwork them. We outthink them. It's not hard to outthink them.
no, it's not hard to do that.
We don't let them make us frightened. We don't try to analyze them. We don't try to bring them over to our side, because they will come to the side of righteousness. And I'm not talking about religious righteousness. I'm talking about political righteousness when they realize when some point is crossed that they no longer will go. And I'm convinced, I may be wrong, that every day that Donald Trump spends on the planet, more people will diss him than will join him.
Well, what's going to, again, and I keep repeating this, the next week and a half, I mean, what
is your biggest fear, Brian? What is your biggest fear in the next week and a half?
You know, it was said on one of the programs today that, you know, is this event one of these ending events, or is it a beginning of something much worse?
It's a beginning event.
There's never an ending event.
Right.
The theory of chaos comes from everything starts something else. So this is a ripple in the pond. There's never an ending event. So this may change, but it won't end.
Correct.
My biggest hope that members of the I keep saying this, man. The members of the Republican Party are going to have to make a call. Oh man, God, I wish John McCain was here. You know, John McCain, it wouldn't have went this far. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mitt Romney didn't do it good enough, but it hasn't been not one Republican that actually stood up. I always think about that time when John McCain was running against Barack Obama, and the old lady stood up and said that he's a Muslim and a terrorist, and he said no, 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 and he walked back and he took the mic and said, "Listen, he is not those things." It might have cost him the election from a Republican point of view because they then thought he wasn't. That was the splinter of the Republican Party, because Fox News then was propagating all these negative things about Barack Obama, and John McCain said, "No, he's not a terrorist, man. He's a good Christian man. I personally know him. We just disagree on some things, but he is a good American citizen." Yo, I thought right then and there John McCain was going to win the election when he did that. I thought he was going to get some people from the Democratic side that was on the fence that still wasn't ready for a black man to be president. I was like, damn, he done stole the election.
Right.
But then he had Sarah Palin, and then that.
I'm going to analyze you two real quickly, and I don't have a psychological degree. But if I were to capture it in one word, Brian is the man of pessimism. You're more the man of hope. So I want to turn around the question to you, if I may. What is the thing and use Brian's deadline in the next till January 20th noon? What is the thing you fear most that could happen? Or is there nothing really that you?
What I fear is
just that short period of time.
I fear that in that short period of time, that what happened today escalates across the country.
Right.
And when it escalates across the country, see, those are the people who could afford, and they just said all the people who were arrested today are from out of town. Of course, we already know nobody lives in D.C. Everybody lives outside of D.C.
Oh, there are black people. I didn't see any black people there today, you know?
Because they're the residents. The residents are not.
I know that. Muriel Bowser said, and rightfully so, stay the hell home. And they did. And that's another win.
My biggest fear is that those protesters that were there go back to their communities, taking their COVID that they just got infected with,
right?
But go back to their communities and they propagate that information. They take that information and the 20th is this time they're going to have weapons. This time they're going to be busting heads. This time they're going to be walking through communities and people are not going to tolerate it. So my biggest fear is that this doesn't stop. Because it's the president. All he had to do is say, you know what? To take one of Brian's words, I fucked up. My bad.
That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist in his mind nor in his vocabulary. He can't do it, and that's why he's not. That's why he's human. He's human waste. Brian, what is your biggest hope over the next 20 days or next till January 20th? I phrased that wrong. What do you hope will happen?
My hope is kind of what I think. If actually, with my phone call with Carl, just briefly, although I shouldn't really talk about it, but it's just that there'll be some Republicans who are going to do the right thing, and enough of them that, and forcefully enough, because look, people like Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, Maxine Waters, they've done everything they can do. They've done the right thing. They've been tough. But you needed to have a Republican. Now, Christie came out, as much as I hate Christie, he came out and said something. And
You
it
know,
has to be said. It's such an abrogation of decency that they've got to come out. That's got to happen first, because unless they see it caving in, you've got to have a bifurcation, of the Republican Party. Like right now, it's got to happen, because otherwise, people
it's
like
already
Ted
happening,
Cruz.
Brian. That's already happening. Okay.
Well, it's got to
it is.
happen to the point where they realize that right now, people can make say, you know what, I'm not voting for this. I am not going for this, because I don't even think most Republicans are like that.
They didn't vote for it in Georgia, did they?
No.
The other thing,
I'm worried about, number one, that, like just what George said, it escalates maybe to some with some states where there's some governors, like in Michigan, something like that can happen. Already they say Jay Inslee's had a problem. I'd hate to see that, because there's a lot of dumb Americans out there, these Trumpers, and they will take arms and they will do horrible things. I don't want it escalating to the point where people like the average Joe down my street, does crap like that. I'm not a gun guy. I believe in law and order. Trump says it, but I believe it. But I don't want that to escalate. And then, of course, on the 20th, I don't want any, parallel inauguration occurring for Trump. They should not allow it. Nobody should be allowed to be in D.C. except for.
Well, Brian, remember what you just said. I don't know how you stop a parallel inauguration, but it will not be in D.C. If it is held, it will be somewhere else. It will not be in D.C.
But one of the good things about happening today, if somebody asked, could he, start a war or anything? One of the good things about today, he can't. He won't be. His powers are going to be diminished greatly. One of the people that was commentating earlier today on the news said that he was at the White House and staffers were packing their belongings up and leaving.
Really?
Yeah. That's going on.
They were like, you know what? I got a job interview. I got to go.
Brian, jump on Rachel's comment. When George gets on, I just want to say this, Brian. Jump on Rachel's comment.
It's there.
It's very important.
And White House cabinet staff are considering resigning due to what happened today. 2 already have resigned.
Yep. See, I was watching that earlier today.
And there you are, George. That's just what you're saying.
We're packing their stuff up.
Now, I'm going to take maybe the most controversial thing I'm going to say tonight, but I believe it's true.
Russ wants to know which ones, if we know. I don't know. George, do you know who any of them were? Or they just...
I was trying to do some stuff with basketball.
Russ, I'll get Rachel's good about that. She may be.
If anybody out there knows, tell us.
Yeah.
And I'll post it.
Brian and George and everyone out there, I actually think that not only what happened today has value, but where it happened had the most value. I believe that human beings don't change until confronted, sometimes at the last minute. And today, every congressman and every senator learned what every teacher in America knows. People with guns can come in and threaten your life.
Damn right.
Now, I would hope, I don't think this will happen necessarily, but my hope would be that when all this gets over tonight, that they go home and maybe rethink not even so much their involvement with Trump, but think about what predated Trump, such as being bought and sold by the NRA, such as being beholden to other interests. And you know what? You don't know. There's a gentleman, and somebody please help me. Somebody I didn't know. He wasn't on camera. I think he's from New Mexico, either New Mexico, Arizona, maybe. Man, did he make a lot of sense? He's a former Marine and served. He's now, I got the impression he's not a first term, isn't being sworn in, but maybe I could be wrong.
Stephanie Grisham was one.
Okay. And what happens, whether it's Stephanie Grisham or this congressman or the staffer for Nancy Pelosi, who had the presence of mind to grab up.
Right.
Out of all this tragedy and horror, heroes emerge, right? They do emerge.
Yes.
And we're seeing them in real time. We're seeing history in real time. And it gives us another chance to evaluate. And maybe, I think I need it, maybe no one else does. Today, I will go to bed tonight, and it's only important to me, not to anyone else, more convinced that I'm on the side of right than when I woke up this morning, because I know how I feel about what happened. And that's very important. But what I think is even more important, Stephanie Grisham's quitting. These other things, we're seeing that my theory, for what it's worth.
That's not
it's
enough,
not
by the way. That's, two people, her secretary, and that's it.
Brian, for you, it would never be enough.
No, it wouldn't. Everything
I know.
matters. There's no.
That's not what I'm saying. You want revenge. You want revenge. You don't want anything other than revenge.
No, I want it right.
No, you don't. You don't.
Yes, I do.
What do you want?
What are you telling me what I want? Jesus
You don't
Christ.
know. What do you want?
You want 3 balloons. You want
What do you
4
want?
tickets to the Rangers game. Why don't I
what
ever
do you
just
want?
say shit,
What do you want, Brian?
First of all, I want the wrongs to be righted. And I believe that people have to pay for their actions. Okay, like George says, they have to be prosecuted. There should have been more arrests. There should be arrests.
Have you seen anybody not be prosecuted yet?
Well, I've seen people prosecuted, but of course he pardons them the hell out, and you can't stop it now.
Is he going to be there January 21st?
One would hope not.
If you are being serious, then you're beneath me to have a conversation.
You
with.
saw again what I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I just don't trust. Again, if you lived in Russia or you had been in Russia, you know what I'm talking about.
Again. Here we go. What year were you in Russia?
Many different years. There, 90, 91, 92, 93,
when
94, 95,
91 was
96,
the coup.
97.
91 was the coup, right?
August 19th,
and you were there,
1991.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I arrived on the
Let me ask you
evening
a
of the
question.
18th.
Right now, at this moment, are you living in August 1991 in Russia?
No.
So is it conceivable that what happened in Russia, something different here could happen?
Absolutely.
And that's all. That's all.
Okay. But just understand why I get nervous, because when you see things, your brain starts connecting things, like when you're in a crossword puzzle or you're trying to work through some situation, and from your experience you say, oh, this doesn't look good. You know what I mean? You feel like, George, you as a coach. Now, I used to be a hockey coach, but I wouldn't coach that long, but like you have. But isn't there some times during the game when you feel like, oh, this thing is going to start getting out of control? Like, it's just, you get that feel.
But then we could call a timeout.
Right. We can't do that with this.
And try to stop the momentum.
Right.
And there you are.
The momentum is going against us. Yeah. Timeout, ref. And I've done that. And sometimes I call timeout. And didn't he talk about last year we was in the playoffs and we were getting beat by 25. I called timeout. I didn't talk about basketball.
Oh, really?
I was like, what are you guys going to do this weekend?
Yeah, what are they looking like? What?
I was like, yo,
coach is pretty weird.
And I was like, come on, let's play basketball. It's over. I didn't think, look at the score. It's over. Let's just play. Yeah.
See, Donald Trump doesn't call timeouts. Donald Trump just forges ahead. I'm not excusing him. I'm not condoning him. I'm just saying Donald Trump is who he is. America elected him. And now we are paying a price, whether we voted for him or not. But that is going to end on January 20th. And Joe Biden, it's going to be a new start. Now, whether it will be, I think it will be better. Will it be perfect? Absolutely not. Let's get to race, because that's the central issue. George, again, I'm going to defer to you because I don't know if you've realized this recently, but you are black. I don't know if anybody's told you that recently, but you are. As a black man, forget all the other things you are, teacher, all that. Would you rather have Donald Trump in office or Joe Biden?
Of course, Joseph Biden will be my first.
There you are. So would it be safe for me to say that you're hoping for more from Joe Biden than Donald Trump delivered?
Absolutely.
And that's
he only has to give me one thing.
And what's that?
Because no president is going to ever give us everything that we want.
Right.
But the one thing, and this is speaking from as a veteran, the one thing I want more than anything is unity. I was in the military doing 9/11, and the weeks after that, there was American flags everywhere. Now there was a little bad side to that, but everybody was.
No, I agree.
It's America first. I thought last March, I swear to God, me and Brian was talking about this last year. I thought the pandemic, as it was spinning up, I thought that America was going to come together around this foe. When Trump had that speech and said, I'm going to treat this pandemic as if we're at war. I'm a wartime president. I was like, damn, he going to win the election because he going to avoid this. He going to let Anthony Fauci, he going to let Pence, he going to let all these people do their job. He going to get out of the way. And now it was a good thing because, I lost people in my family to the COVID. Right. And so I was like, damn, he going to win the election because he going to do right. He just said something right. And then right in the middle of it, they asked him, are you going to wear a mask? You should, but I'm not.
Right.
Oh, no, never mind. So I want Joe Biden to find a way to unite the country. And he cannot get 100% buy-in. Even during World War II, like you said, Dave, there weren't people who were united. There were people who were against us being in the war. Absolutely. But if we get 60% of Americans believing that we're Americans first, I don't know. The hardest part, I think it's going to take Joe Biden it's going to take all of his term just to get people to forget all the divisiveness that happened over the last 8 years.
Absolutely. By the way, gentlemen, while we're talking about this, has anybody discovered the whereabouts of Mr. Pence? He was missing in action, not in trouble or anything. And the other point,
he's at the Capitol.
I mean, he is, but I think this is the most interesting point of all. And I neglected it. Something I want to know, and we don't know it yet. We'll find out in the days to come. It is my understanding, and I do. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do believe the media sometimes gets it right. Print media more often gets it right than wrong. That apparently the discussions with the Pentagon and bringing the National Guard in were with Mr. Pence and General Milley, not Donald Trump. Now, the question becomes one of 2 points. Does that mean that they've given up on Trump doing the right thing at all, right? Which elevates Pence, de facto president, or does it mean that Donald Trump refused? Because
that's why the 25th Amendment is hanging over his head.
To me, tomorrow, George, again, I'm not a senator. I'm not a legislator. My call tomorrow is either or, and I favor one over the other, is either to move for immediate impeachment, even though it's ridiculous. You don't have the time, right? But you get everybody on record. Or you move for a call for the cabinet to call for the 25th.
And I think if that happens, Dave, I think Pence actually can't do it. He has to do it behind closed doors first, but he needs to come in front of the American people and say, I have requested that we.
That'd be the greatest thing he ever did in his life if he did it.
Yep. And I'm telling you, I think that a Republican has to do it, and they can't do it behind closed doors. This is one thing that can't be cloak and dagger. They may have their meeting privately, but before it's executed, Mike Pence must stand up in front of TV, in front of America, and say, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Pence, and I am implementing and requesting that the 25th Amendment be applied. And then each one of the cabinet members, because I think they need 3/4 of the cabinet members.
Yeah,
right?
It's 3/4. I'm pretty sure. It's not 2/3. I'm pretty sure.
Each one should be lined up and come up and put a piece of paper down. I second it, I third it, I fourth it, I fifth it. And now once they get it.
You understand, George, if that happens, I will never speak to you again. Do you know why? You just gave Vice President Pence a way to become President Pence in 2024. Think about that for a moment. Think about that for a moment. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying if he at this point we're calculating, and I'll tell you, you don't have to be a great man to calculate correctly. You know who's a lousy human being who calculated correctly? Tom Cotton.
Yeah.
Tom Cotton, I'll tell you here, he's a piece of shit. But he looked at it and said, well, I'll let Cruz and Hawley fight it out for those Trumpites. I'm going to go the other way, right? And
I'm not going to say anything.
And I'll be part of grabbing everybody when it's done. And there's not a more ambitious Republican politician there. And Pence, I really will, George. I'll be so friggin' mad at you because you just gave him
Well, he's
away.
got to do it pretty quickly, doesn't he?
Well, he's got 6 days, doesn't he, or whatever? I don't know. What the hell day is it? I don't even know.
Today
got,
is the 6th. He's got 13
days?
or 14. Actually, 13 if you think about it. So.
Damn, that's a good idea. That is a really. I don't like you, George. Now you've given.
And you know what? Somebody was asking about what should we do with Trump after he's off office. It's 2 things that's going to happen to Trump. He's going to be prosecuted by the Southern District of New York. We know this
correct.
for a fact.
That is absolutely correct.
He's going to be prosecuted. I want to say, I think Illinois has something on him. Everywhere where he has Trump properties, I believe he has 7 cases. 7 states have cases pending on him for all kind of. Even
Florida's the worst one because of his Russian
Florida
mob stuff. I don't know what's going on in Florida, but that's where he's done all the laundering of money with these properties.
Because he was doing stuff and didn't have Florida residency until he became president. But I think Florida is just as bad as New York. The second thing is I want him to be prosecuted. I want all his stuff just to be laid out on the table. I want all his Trump supporters to say he's only worth $500 million and he owes $400 million to foreign investors. I want them to be able to see this, and I want to do the perp walk. I want them to. They don't have to put the handcuffs behind them, Dave.
No,
they don't have to put the handcuffs on them. I just want to see. I can't think of the sister's name. That's the district attorney of New York. I just want to see her grab him by his bicep and walk him to the car.
By the way, they just said Rachel.
Remember Giuliani used to do that to all the mob dudes? He used to go grab them.
Notice what's happening.
The one walk him to the car.
Lindsey Graham just said enough is enough.
Yeah. George, I want to be for the first on record, and you know that I am one of your admirers. I think you're really one of the truly good guys. But I want to be the first to charge you officially with giving aid and comfort to the enemy. Indeed, if it becomes President Pence. Okay, I just want to go on record as saying that tonight, because that you should be a political advisor. That is brilliant. Brian, I want to say to you, there's really nothing I want to say to you.
I'll tell you what. That's why I put George on top of you. Okay.
I agree that George.
I reserve you in the bottom right-hand corner. That's
my only job is to slap you literally and figuratively.
I put an X on it, but
ladies and gentlemen, last night I was on a show similar to this, and the Brian Weinstein of that show was as professional as this clown is not.
Okay. So he was actually very polite. Yeah, but you were polite last night. You know, you can't do that on our show.
Deserve politeness. Look at this. Veg has got something up there, which is true. He had a flight to Brooklyn 19th. Scottish said no. Now, you know, people will read that and say he was trying to escape the country. There's not too many places that are going to take him. Okay. You know, and he has to look for a place that doesn't have extradition.
Where's he going to be exiled to?
Saudi Arabia, they say, is the only place he could probably go.
Paraguay, somewhere in the South. They should send him somewhere in South America.
Look,
we only speak Spanish.
Right. Yeah.
No, but there's a no. I know this wouldn't happen, but you know, you all, Brian. I'm always picking on you and your fantasies, so I'm gonna create one for myself. I know San Quentin was notorious, and Rikers Island was notorious, and Sing Sing was notorious, but because of my age and where I was, Attica to me will always be the worst prison, especially to Black Americans. Not compared to Parchment Farm. I'm not talking about the South, but I'm saying in the North, right? So what I would do is take every person who believes that Trump did them wrong, who's currently in the prison system. You know, maybe they gave their mother COVID or whatever, and then put him in, reopen Attica and put him in there, and do just what the police have done. Just don't guard real well and see what happens. But that's a joke, of course, but someone says, but back to this problem. We haven't resolved it. We're not going to. there's a reality problem in America, and we just got to figure out. And George, your idea of unity is good. I don't know. I mean, I certainly think that's a way to go, but I think, and I was watching some of the comments that came across, and I understand not with them, with Nazis, with all this, but unity doesn't imply 100%. Unity applies a comfortable margin above 50% right now. And if we could get to, I think you've actually mentioned the number 70%. That's what sticks in my mind. If we could get to 70%, and I think the issue, I'm surprised too, we didn't do better with the virus in terms of individuals. But President Biden has already said one of his objectives initially will be 100 days, 100 masks, right? Or wearing 100 masks for 100 days. Let's just hope. I mean, that could be a start, maybe. After Trump is triggered.
We're missing all the good stuff, folks. We'll have to watch.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, tomorrow, I told y'all, the Republicans have to review. This is not the end of what happened. This is the change.
You're saying it play out in real time. The other thing
they have to make a division. They have to say this is not us
before they come back to the Capitol building, and they do the same crap tomorrow,
Yep, they have to distance themselves from him.
Not before. They're coming back tomorrow, Brian.
They are.
I'm here with them. I mean, I'm not trying to say. I mean, I know. I was talking. I mean, some of them are booked here. They didn't just now. Two brothers I was talking to. They drove up. Now think about this for a moment. I'm not making them here. I'm just saying. I don't know. There's many issues in the world I would do. They drove 12 straight hours from Memphis, Tennessee, to be here. They believe in the cause, man. They believe in the cause. But they left tonight.
And they're gonna sleep in their cars.
But there's all kinds of people, other people I talk to. Oh no, we're here for a couple of days. We're here to see what happens. Certainly there'll be something tomorrow. It will not be the number that it was today. I would hope the Capitol is better prepared. But
yeah, really, I hope so too.
They're the big things. You have to worry. I mean, unless it was an inside job, and I'm skeptical of that until it's proven. What basically happened is they rushed the doors and they weren't ready.
Right.
And you can't have that.
They called the National Guard up, and the National Guard get called up. They're up for a minimum of 72 hours. So when those orders got cut, when you get called up by National Guard, you're told your phone call says you're on active duty orders, and you report to your unit, get dressed, go do what you got to do. It's a minimum of 72 hours. And they were called up yesterday because it takes time to get people from all over because remember, the National Guard, DC doesn't have National Guard. Correct. Virginia and Maryland, their National Guard comes to the aid. Virginia's National Guard had to be pulled together. And some of them probably were already at the protest, had to go home and change and come back, because they're patriots.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
Their National Guardsmen had to be rallied together at rally points and then transferred to that spot. So that was when somebody asked, what took so long for the National Guard? Once that phone call is made, bring the National Guard in. They just don't fall out of the sky like in movies and paratroop in. They have to be rallied to points, given direction. It's called a law of armed conflict. The law of armed conflict is a UCMJ code. And when these guardsmen are put on active duty, they have to be reminded and put on orders. You are now subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And that means anything they do, they can be prosecuted to the full extent of the federal law. These are the ones they are told what your operating orders are. Now you can look at the movie and say, what is our orders? Shoot to kill, or don't shoot till you're seen, or non-lethal projectiles. They're giving orders. They're giving briefings. They also have to be asked, do you have your last will and testament in place before they're put on the trucks and taken away? They just have to make sure that they're taken care of.
Wow.
So it can be anything. It's from a 2-hour process to a 2-day process. And I believe that the DC mayor asked for the National Guard to be alerted. And once they put on alert, they on a 2-hour window. So they let them know, hey, you on alert, get ready, we might need you. Like if a hurricane is coming, they'll tell the guard, you on alert. Don't go too far.
And
But
they're there now.
My wife is clapping. Lindsey just speaking, so he must have said something good.
Well,
Babe, what did he
Gary
say?
Peacock just crossed the face that the Senate said, if you read Gary's comment,
They
I don't
ratified
know.
it.
They ratified it.
Can I just say one thing? Because I know Mantra said about the clarity. George, and I mean this, I'm going to take it a step further. This is why I like having people on. Like, I mean, Dave and I, we go at it,
Yeah,
but we play a lot. But
Yeah.
these are the kind of people I like talking with because they know stuff. Like, there's no way I would have understood any of that stuff about the National Guard. But George is the guy that can answer that question. So when you watch something like this, you get the information, as well as the people out there in the audience. This is why I love this channel, because it's, you've got, if I can't answer it, somebody can, and I don't want to play any other role than just facilitating it.
Yeah, and George, I don't love the channel, but if I find my own, I'm not taking the guy who just said he loves the channel.
Well,
okay?
I want to say how great you are, Dave, and Dave's great because Dave is going to do some video collecting tomorrow. He's going to take his phone. He's going to go right up to the Capitol, wherever those Trumpers are. And unfortunately, he didn't make it out there today. I thought I told him, I demanded that he get videos. But for some reason, he didn't show up there, And I could have this night could have had the greatest videos, and he doesn't show up. He talks in his lobby with some rich Trumpers or something like that.
No, Brian. Basically, what I want to say is two things. 3 times I brought film back to you. I haven't been able to get on every time, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. I
got to get going soon, by the way, gentlemen, just so you know.
What Ronnie just said, it's time.
No, my eyes are. I'm ready to go like this to hold them up. I didn't get to sleep till 2 last night.
Oh, the baby is tired.
Oh, shush! You just don't like hockey, okay?
Here's we're going. Oh, now that.
And they won last night. The United States won the gold medal of the junior. I mean, that was a big thing.
No,
it's hard to beat Canada.
My last comment tonight will apply to you, Brian, directly, and to everybody listening. There are a lot of people right now who believe in WWJD, right? What would Jesus do? And that's not a
Jesus 2020 right up there on the Capitol building.
What I'm saying is just okay. What would Jesus do? And that's not a bad way to live your life. There are too many people right now saying WWDTD. What would Donald Trump do? And that's not a good way to live your life. But ladies and gentlemen, the worst way to live your life is WWBWD. And that is, what would Brian Weinstein do? So the moment he gives me an order, I realize that the moment I say one of the briefest words in the English language, which is no, I'm doing good.
Well, I'll just say this. If you had done what I had asked you as our senior marketing director and journalist, if you had gotten your ass out there and gotten these videos, especially with those guys climbing the walls there,
you brought it up, George.
They wouldn't know that. They think you're a Trumper,
Let me ask you this.
You ruined the whole thing.
I gave Brian an alternate suggestion. Now, I want you to think. I did. And I want you to think, what would draw more viewers to this show? Right? Okay. I said, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, be thrown off of YouTube after I did it.
Brian, stand in front of your camera and turn e-camera on. Drop your pants and begin to fondle that thing that some people call a Johnson, and continue fondling it until you're
now he's out of control again. He's going down into the gutter snipe.
Fondling. No, my answer is, what would more people watch? I think they'd watch more than my pictures. I think they would watch you doing that. In fact, why don't you give the people right now a preview? I'm done.
Are you promising me that? Your endings never end. Okay? I got to tell you 3 things, guys. And he goes on. So anyway, George and Dave, in all seriousness, thank you very much, both of you. It's been an important night for me because, you know how tense I get. And both of you are very, very helpful. And, it's...
I appreciate you guys. From the time I walked into Bridgeton High School, literally fresh off the airplane, working jets, you two were two of the people that befriended me. First, Brian telling me stories about Soviet Union experience and everything, and Dave having the inappropriate conversations in staff meetings.
Yes, always.
And I was like, I like that old guy, Dave.
Dirty old man.
It's been an interesting experience these 14 years being at Bridgeton High School, and
You're not saying goodbye, are you? You're saying 14 years. That's
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Just
You got another
it-
14 there, bro.
maybe 6, but maybe 8. But as I look at our community, for me and Brian, we work in the area you left us, Dave. But I think Bridgeton and Cumberland County community, this summer we did a lot of protesting, we did a lot of marching, we did a lot of. There were some of my former cadets that were setting stands up on Pearl Street, signing people up to vote.
Great.
And they were 18-year-old kids who were just not old enough. It was a couple out there who weren't old enough to vote. And they was like, Sarge, can you get us some copies? I was like, absolutely.
Great.
We marched a couple times, but it was resilient for me. 2020 has been a very tragic year for me personally as a family, but it's also been a very uplifting time to see my students, our students, out and making a difference in voting. Unfortunately, the circumstances has propelled us to have our children have to grow up early and be activists. It was sad with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and countless other young men and women who have lost their lives, not only of Black, but of all different races and creed who've lost their lives, and no one's been held accountable. Right. And that's how I think if 2020 told me anything, 2021, people need to be held accountable for their actions, good and indecent. They need to be held accountable for their actions. And I'm an optimist. I believe that somehow, some way, justice is going to prevail. I just think it's going to. I'm hoping it's going to work out.
Well,
that's what I should.
I know, Brian. I know, Brian. I said I wouldn't say anything, but George's speech was so inspiring.
There he goes. He's got to come in with this.
I got to ask one question.
Conclusion.
George, you've worked closely tonight with Brian. When you get done, are you going to plan to go take a shower just because you've been so close to him tonight? I mean, I'm just wondering, because I do, and I don't know if I was the only one who does that or not. I mean, I know we have distance, but even just the idea of being around him, I think sometimes I want to wash that Brian shit off.
Well, listen, I'll agree on one thing, George. People have to pay the price, and one day, hopefully, Dave will. So let's end it there, gentlemen. Thank you very much, and
thank you, Brian, for having us. Thank you, everybody out there. We appreciate the comments.
If I can make this thing work, it's supposed to work.
Il y a une jolie fille d'un lion. Il y a une jolie fille. Elle est jolie, parfaite en beauté, qu'elle a charmé. Elle a charmé le cœur d'un grenadier. Bon grenadier, amène-moi dans ta chambre. Bon grenadier, amène-moi dans ta chambre. Oui, dans ma chambre, je t'emmènerai et je te donnerai. Et je te